Okay, students, so not only do we have to be really good at reflexive property, we have to be really good at vertical angles. All right, when two lines, we're not going to write out the definition. I was going to have us fill this out. Really what I want to do is just draw a common picture. It's really like almost like when you see a bow tie. All right. Now watch this. I'm going to call this triangle DARBY. Haha, I get it. I called it triangle Darby. That's where we go to school. That was pretty funny. Anywho, all right, when we see triangles like this, we have to be really good at that angle, and that angle are congruent by vertical angles. Furthermore, we have to be really good at naming these angles. We can't call it angle R because there's multiple angles that share the vertex, all right? So remember, the specific order doesn't matter, but what does matter is that the vertex is the middle letter. So angle ARD is congruent to angle BRY. All right. Remember, we went from B to R to Y, and over here I went to A to R to D. All right, so we have to be really good at identifying vertical angles whenever we see them. If we can do that in reflexive, we're taking care of a lot of things. We'll be in really good shape. So again, this is another common proof. Watch this, all right? DA is congruent to CA, and angle D is congruent to angle C. Boop, 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 boop. So all I did was draw in my picture. Again, I'm just visualizing what I have, and then let me write down my givens. Okay, now when I see a picture like this, I have to say OMG. This angle is congruent to this angle, and furthermore, I have to be really good at naming it. Angle EAD is congruent to angle BAC. Why? Vertical angles. Now, looking at my picture, I can say, hold up, I have an angle, I have a side, I have another angle. This side is included. I have enough information to say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle AED. And why? Angle, side, angle. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, that's it right there. That's why we have to be good at identifying vertical angles. Next one is definition of midpoint results in two segments being congruent. All right, so segment or definition of midpoint, or you might see segment bisector. So let me think about how I want to do this one. We'll draw a similar picture. Again, we're going to see a lot of familiar pictures throughout this. There's only really a certain amount of kind of worked out, but let me do it like this. All right. Can't think of anything funny off the top of my head. So we'll just call this A, B, C, D, E. Just thought of 5 random letters that came to my head first. Those are the first 5 letters that came to my head. Anywho, you might see this. It might say C is the midpoint of AE. It might tell you that C is the midpoint of AE. So really this is saying we're focusing on this segment right here. If that's the case, then AC is congruent to CE. All right, that's just the definition of midpoint. You also might see something similar. You might see something like AE bisects segment BD. All right, this is the same exact thing. It's just worded differently. It's saying that this segment bisects this segment. If that's the case, since it's bisecting the segment, it's still cutting it into 2 equal parts. So then that means that BC is congruent to CD. All right, segment bisector or midpoint, same thing. All right, and then here's a great one. All right, so given E is the midpoint of BD and AC, so notice how it didn't give us anything specifically congruent, but there's a lot of things that we can figure out. So if E is the midpoint of BD, that means it's going to make those 2 things congruent. And then if it's also the midpoint of AC, those 2 things have to be congruent. All right, not to get too ahead of myself, let me just start writing my given. E midpoint of BD AC given. All right, so not only do we have to be able to identify things immediately, we also have to be able to use buzzwords. All right, since it told me I had a midpoint, that's a buzzword. I'm going to use things I know about midpoints, such as DE is congruent to EB, and then CE is congruent to EA. Definition of midpoint. All right, so we used our given, we drew on the picture, we knew the buzzword, so on and so forth. And again, like I said before, we have to be amazing at identifying this. Vertical angles. When we see the bow tie, when we see the 2 lines forming an X like this, we have to know vertical angles immediately. So now I can say angle DEC is congruent to angle AEB. Vertical angles. And then lastly, let me think about things. We have a side, we have an angle, we have a side, the angle is included. I have enough information to be able to write what I'm trying to prove. Triangle CDE is congruent to triangle ABE by side, angle side. All right, cool. 3 more proofs left. We got this.